Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're going to be reviewing Black Holes and Revelations by the band Muse.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
I am admittedly a bit tired right now, so sorry if I'm more like chill, laid back, talking quietly, but that's just the mood I'm in. Anyway, here's some of my favorite bits from this album. So the first time seeing Muse on this list, and they're definitely a very interesting pick because when it comes down to it, there is a lot of debate on whether these guys are actually prog or not prog, and I will provide my own personal opinion on the matter just later on in the video. But firstly, some backstory, shall we? So Muse formed back in 1994 in the UK with its 3 founding members that are still there up until today, being only 13 at the time. Now, of course, being 13, they decided to name their band with the most agreeable name at the time, which was of course Gothic Plague. Of course, that name really didn't last for long, so they quickly changed it to the name we all know today, which is Fixed Penalty. Yeah, no, they didn't change it to Muse, but then they changed it to the overall known name, which is Rocket Baby Dolls. No, yeah, they didn't change it to Muse quite yet, but after that, I assure you, they did change their name to Muse, and they've stuck with that from that point onwards. Now, I won't go much into detail, but with a handful of luck and of course some talent, these guys were able to find a producer and produce by themselves an EP and a bunch of singles back in 1998. Now, the success of their second single was what initially granted them the ability to actually produce a full-on album, so in 1999 they released their debut album called Showbiz. Now, their debut album didn't really pop off that well, but fortunately they did produce a second album called Origin of Symmetry, and that one definitely was a major success for this newly founded band, and it paved the way for the remainder of a very successful music career. And the album that we are reviewing today is the 4th in their discography, coming out in 2006. This was No Child's Play. This album quickly rose to number 1 in the UK charts and reached the top 10 in the US charts as well. So when I tell you all that this album is a chart topper back in the year of 2006, prog rock is basically not the first thing that comes into mind. And you'd be correct, this album didn't succeed because it was a great progressive rock album, but because it featured much accessibility and was basically what the masses wanted to hear. Now, why are these guys then associated with progressive rock music? And I guess the answer to it is quite simple. While their main goal was never to create progressive rock music in the first place, I do believe that these guys, with their rock music inspired by punk and overall being very eclectic, they just wanted to try and stay out of norms and stay out of, traditional and contemporary structures and create their own type of rock, and that's why it does have the appeal to the masses both and the prog heads as well. And personally, I do agree with that observation. I found the music of this album to be quite fun to listen to without having to dissect it for its complexity or just appreciate it because it is complex, but I did just find that this album was very much fun to listen to, and while I might not consider a lot of it to be actual progressive rock, I do believe that it's the closest you can get without actually being classified as prog and just staying in the prog related realm. And you know, there's this old saying that says that progressive rock music in its essence is music that you can't dance to, and if we look at the opposite of that saying, it definitely really shows on here because you wouldn't consider an album like this as prog because it really does make you want to just dance to it. Nevertheless, this album really had me in some conflicting feelings. You see, it has been a long time since we've had an album that has one good part to it and one lesser part to it, and in this album's case it starts off really good, but then in the second half of it, it just kind of dwindles into something that is not that enjoyable. Now, when I listened to this album the first time, I really couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I thought to myself that maybe I overlooked some things in the first half, but then I re-listened to this album again, and I realized that no, the first part of this album, the first half of it is really quite enjoyable, and the second one is just kind of going on autopilot, which is something that I never truly enjoy. And just for some reference, everything from the beginning of the album up until the track Invincible, including that one, is really good in my opinion, and everything that comes after that is just kind of meh. Now, if there's one thing that I do kind of find odd about this album is that when seeing progressive rock fans talk about this album, everyone seems to mention the track Knights of Sidonia. Now, this track is to be found on the latter half of this album, the half that I personally don't like as much as the first. And while it does have some variation to it and it is the longest track on the album, clocking in at a profound 6 minutes of runtime, I don't think that it's that interesting, and it might be the most different one of all, but it's definitely not the best, at least of course in my personal subjective opinion. My personal favorite from this album would actually be Soldier's Poem, which is a lovely little short track which is very much influenced by the Floydian sound, which I really like, and I'd love to hear that track but with a longer version of it. Then you also have the very huge hit called Supermassive Black Hole, which is a great song, and I totally get why it's their #1 rated song of all time, but my personal favorite would have to be the track Starlight. I'm just joking with you. I'm sorry. I know it's a favorite track by so many people, but you know, it's fine. It's not the best. But my personal favorite would actually be the first track on this entire album called Take a Bow. And you know, the reasoning for why I love it, well, I can't really say more than just it is really fun to listen to. It's groovy, it's funky, it is well written, well performed, and everything that has to do with that. But at the end of the day, when I listened to this entire album, I couldn't help but come back to this one and just enjoy listening to it over and over again. But yeah, as an overall consensus for this video, I would like to pose this question of whether Muse is a good band for prog heads to get into. And well, I can't really answer that question because I don't know Muse as a whole, but a proper question would be is whether Black Holes and Revelations is a good album for prog heads to get into. And the answer to that would be yeah. It is a good album. I know that it isn't strictly prog and it's more prog related, but honestly, in the piles of garbage that we see released every day nowadays in the modern era of prog, I do believe that this is something that will tickle the fancy of many prog heads nowadays. So if you haven't given Muse a listen, then you might want to go and check them out because they're definitely somewhat worth your time. This cover, although not made solely by, was made in partnership with the legendary Storm Thorgerson of Studio Hypnosis, and he of course made covers like Dark Side of the Moon and Houses of the Holy and yada yada, you know, all of that. And this is a classic Storm Thorgerson cover. It looks real, everything about it is real, but it is very much just otherworldly. But in this case, I would even say that this one is outer worldly in some way, because we see a scene that takes place place somewhere outside of Earth, because Earth is up there in the sky somewhere with the moon, and it looks like they're on Mars. But if I'm gonna get nerdy on this can't happen on Mars, because the sky on Mars is orange because the light rays are longer, and you can't of course see the Earth and the moon in the same way, and they're not even like 1/100th of this size if you looked at them from Mars. And honestly, what am I saying? This is just very much surrealistic expression made by the ones who made this cover. And what we see on here are 4 men with very peculiar suits sitting around a square table with a bunch of miniature horses to be found on it. Now, I really don't want to go into what I think this means, because honestly I have no idea, but if there's one thing that always popped into mind when I saw this cover, is that these guys look very much like the twins from Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. So if you're watching these shows, you probably know what I'm talking about, and I also probably have a picture of them somewhere on the screen right now. But yeah, overall this is another signature Storm Thorgerson cover, and it really catches your attention, and it's definitely very good looking. Oh, I wish this album was consistently great as the start of it, but unfortunately I just don't think that's the case, so it's gonna get a very understandable rating of 7 out of 10. But that's about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for tomorrow, because we're going to be listening to Unfold the Future by the Flowery Kings, an album which is apparently the longest album I've listened to on this list thus far. I just didn't know that when I came into it, so it kind of eased my, listening experience to it, but I'm going to talk about it more tomorrow. But for now, I'd like to thank my lovely supporters over on Patreon, so thank you so much to Claywan, Umbrist of Kings, and Lindsay Haycox. You guys are the best, and if any of you want to support me over on Patreon, you can find the link down in the description or in my about page. But that's about it, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.